Hi, and welcome back to Brave Conversations. Today we are joined by Tammy Whalen-Blake, who is a life coach and happiness coach. She actually guides professionals and business owners to rewire their overwork mindset to achieve balance in life, and she does it in 7 weeks. So the thing I like about Tammy is that she's got the energy to light up the entire country. Okay, so she has gone through a lot of personal changes and challenges herself, and that's prepared her to guide people like us to live better lives. And she's super passionate about her mission. So I'd like to tell her a little bit more about that later. She fills you up with hope and positivity. And that's just Tammy being Tammy. So that's really exciting. I'm excited to hear Tammy's views on happiness because we do talk a lot about happiness. And I want to know her perspective on that. Is it really even possible? I mean, what is the key to happiness? And I'm sure we all want to know about that. And how do we rewire ourselves? Because a lot of our culture now is about achievement and having more and being more this and more that. But sometimes it gets a little bit overworked and we get a little bit too much of a perfectionist. How do we rewire that? So I think that would be an interesting conversation. So welcome to the show, Tammy. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me. And great intro. I like the bit about lighting up a room or a world, in fact, you say.
I said a country, but you can do
Country. Oh, okay. Well, I aim high.
No, I really do think you're in the right industry here because from the time that I've met you, you really just have that ability and that charisma to just light up the room, you know. And it's I think that's very important when you're trying to coach people. You first have to be a role model, you know. So tell me a little bit about your life journey and how you decided you were just going to be a coach. Um,
Yeah. Okay. So I'll take it back to when I was in my teenage years, because I think that was the point where I recognized there must be change. And it started with being a teenager and living in what I call a toxic environment. But this started more from my home first. That's why I first recognized it. But it doesn't stop there. It's more home and the city I was living in. So this toxic environment at home was, my mum is a wonderful woman. She works a lot to make sure that she provides for us. So everything she had done was with good intentions. However, she was very demanding of us as children. I almost felt like Cinderella in a way.
oh,
And we had so many different things we had to do, so many chores, that we felt guilty to be children, because actually we were conditioned to make sure that we've cleaned our house a certain way. But she never ever communicated what her standards were, so we could never meet it, and then we'd be punished. So it was really, really toxic, and it was very stressful in that, because she worked a lot, it was go, 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 go. She liked to help other people. She liked to be at work. She was helping also like my nan as well. Very busy woman. But what would happen, she would shout at us as if it was our fault that she would lose her shoes, that she lost her keys. And it made no sense to me, because in my room, in my space, everything had a home. And I was just like, well, why didn't you just put it in the same place every time? And I couldn't quite understand her working. I wouldn't dare say it to her because, I'd be in trouble for it. But that was my norm. And I thought, this can't be normal to other people. And then I started to think about other areas, and it then expanded to the city I was in. And the city was very, very negative, and still to this day, they're very negative. And they were moan about just the traffic lights, um, price increases, if there's a new development in the city, uh, everything. There was always something to moan about. There was nothing ever positive. And I was just like confused why people would think this way all day long. And I could see how it was affecting them. I could see it in their face. They looked really tired and sad. They had like this grey aura about them. And I knew I had to leave. I knew that this wasn't the place for me. I was different. And so I went off to university and I started to develop myself. And through my personal development, I have just learned some different tools and techniques to get me ahead. And through that, I think a lot of it came from my values. My values have seemed to be consistent from a young age all the way through, the top three, in fact. And that's about success. I'm a high achiever. I want success in all areas of my life. Balance, everything needs to be in harmony. And time. I value time because it's a limited resource that we have, and I don't think enough people give it the value that it deserves. And so by doing that, I've just naturally adapted my life bit by bit to the point where people would make comments about how successful I have been for a young person, they would say. And like, you're so happy. Why are you so joyful? Why do you have this bounce in your step? And, you know, it was that then I realized I've created tools that I could use to help those people that look gray and to go to yellow, because yellow symbolizes all the positive words. So positivity, optimism, fulfillment, energy, joy, and so on. And this was my little gift. And so I decided that actually, if I want to make an impact and leave this world with a key statement, it'll be that I have helped others improve their lives so that they can live more with joy and happiness.
And that's all coming from the fact that you also experienced a lack of that in your childhood. And it's amazing how you've actually brought that and kind of turned it around and said, now I want to help people feel happier. Is there a certain group of people you particularly like to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with the same like personality trait, and that's high achievers. They have the same mindset. They're high achievers. They want the next level. So a lot of them tend to be professionals in the corporate world, or they are business owners, solo up to large, or they aspire to be either of those. So they all come around this high achievement mentality, and they want the next level. They're the type of people that I tend to work with, and it could be men or women. It doesn't matter, as long as they are inspired to live more than a mediocre life. But what comes with that, there's a lot of challenges that they face. Because high achievers, there's a fine line with high achievers that be successful in balance to those that overwork. And my mum was that person. My mum's an overworker, and it made no sense to me, and I could see how it was damaging her health. And so I want to help those people that want the high achievement, they want fulfillment, but they're going about it in a way that is damaging and ineffective. And so I teach them the tools and techniques to come back to a high achiever and achieve more success than what they're doing right now.
That's very interesting, because you know where my philosophy on things and why I called my company the Brave Zone was also because, you know, there's a difference between ambition that is driven by fear and ambition that is driven by passion or love, right? So I think some of the things that your mom was going through, I don't know her obviously very well at all, but let's say people like that, because their desire to be better or to have more is driven by fear or the fear of not having enough. And then you overwork, not because you have a certain passion to be or do something, but it's also because it's more like fear of missing out and fear of not having it. And that creates a lot of angry energy that apparently she lashed out on the kids. But it was really, that's the kind of unhealthy ambition, and what I call coming from the fear zone, instead of stepping into your brave zone and saying, this is, you know, my ambition, this is my passion. And really sometimes it's changing what drives you. Do you find that changing what drives you is very important to achieving that yellow state?
Yes, absolutely. If it comes from a negative place, it will show up negatively. If it comes from a positive place, it will show up positively. And it's shifting the focus. But first step is identifying the problem that you have, not the surface level, the deeper level. And that's the challenge, is because we've never been taught how to be emotionally aware. We haven't been taught who are we and how to assess ourselves at any given time in our life, because we just evolve as humans. And so we get caught up in the grind. And the grind is heavily influenced by like social media.
Mm.
Got all these different milestones that we need to achieve, and so we just stick at the surface level and nothing deeper underneath.
Well, let's go deeper about the symptoms, right? How do you know that you're overworked and you're an unhealthy high achiever? How can we spot that within ourselves?
Yeah, I've got I think 4 different examples that I can share with you, and I can go through the types of behaviors to recognize. The first one is someone that must be the best, and what they tend to do is they keep up the appearance of being in control of everything, always in control. They work all the hours because they fear inadequacy. They are the type of people that struggle to delegate because they believe they can always do it better. And they put on a mask. They pretend that everything's okay. You know, they say, yep, okay, fine, those sort of like phrases. But on the inside, they're actually screaming for help. They want someone to help them out. They don't want to be judged. They don't want to fail. And they certainly do not want to be fired. So this is someone that must be the best. Another type of person I see quite a lot. We live in a world where we have to be busy. Busy means successful. Okay, so they wear this busy badge with pride. And with this busy badge, they tend to use it as an excuse to not show up for their friends and family, or even just for themselves. They can't have me time because me time is seen as like a failure. And it's truly not the case. They also, because they have this busy badge, what they're also doing to their friends is that they feel lousy for neglecting them. And so they'll say they're busy so they can avoid that conversation every time. So there's busy people. Another group of people that I see is they just don't know what matters most for them. And this comes back to us not being aware of who we are at any given time, really. For too long, they've been fulfilling the expectations of other people before their own happiness. These people, they question their career choices 10, 20, 30 years ago, and they're not even sure if they enjoy what they're doing now. If they are a parent, they've spent a lot of time nurturing their children, and so they go years, like maybe 18 years, or some of them 25 years, depends when they leave home, but they spend so much time nurturing their children that they forget who they are now and what do they love. And overall, they feel quite lost in so deep that they are stuck in a rut. I hear that, stuck in a rut, a lot. And they feel that they can't let anyone else down because they've always been helping other people all the time. And then the other ones that I see is this sort of like people-pleasing mentality. They struggle to say no. That's because they believe their self-worth is dependent on making other people happy. They also worry about everything, and their anxieties run riot. They lose sleep, really, really struggle with sleeping. They create stories in their mind as they go to bed, usually when they fail or something just really bad happens to them, so that their mind is always racing at night. And these people pleasers, they're also weighed down by the element of control, keeping in control of the situation and just making sure that other people are happy. So I think these are the top type of characteristics. There's more, but they're the top that I have I've worked with a lot in the recent year.
Yeah, and it's interesting how that shows up. Is it there's a, when you're speaking about the 4 types, I think of loneliness. I think of, in essence, the people who are always having to be the best, who cannot express their feelings, who always have to be busy and deny other people from connecting with them. They must feel a lot of loneliness inside, actually, despite the fact what perhaps the facade of being busy and being the best is all over there, but deep inside there's that emptiness. Do you find that at all with your clients?
Yeah, I've never really thought of it that way, but that would make sense, because they are so focused on achieving that that they are doing it on their own. They forget to look up and look around. And I suppose that's where a lot of the time where they say they have that, the feeling's not quite right, or they're out of balance. They're not factoring in, all aspects of life. It's just work. And that can be quite a lonely place to be in. So yeah, I've just never thought of it in that way, but I can see how that.
Interesting. So what do you do with them? I mean, you said 7 weeks. That seems very short. I mean, these people might be in their 40s or 30s, and you're like, 7 weeks, and we've got that. We've got you transformed in 7 weeks. What exactly is the process?
Yeah. Okay. So in 7 weeks, there's different phases of the program that I run. Go to Yellow. Yellow is an acronym for the program, and there's 6 areas. The bit in 7 weeks is the first one, the why, which is your vision awakened. You'll hear lots of different coaches talk about start with why, find your passion, create a vision. In essence, it's the same thing. It's taking you back to who are you today and what do you want for your life? What is your motivator? And it's something that's deep and meaningful. And that comes from a very positive place. So if it's coming from a positive place, your behaviors will start to be positive. Whereas, as I said earlier, if it comes from a negative place, then you'll start to behave negatively, and you'll project in ways that are not advantageous to you. So with this 7 weeks, it's called Your Vision Awakened. We go through tools over this 4 different steps to get the tools, and it's over probably about a 2-week gap between all of them, except for the last week. And we go deep into, well, what are your values? Because values do change over time. So your values today to 10, 20 years ago, they'll be completely different. And that's the first focus point for us, is to really get into your values that are yours and not someone else's, because there's the danger with, you may have a partner and there's something that they value and they're strong with that, and you adopt it, but it might not be your value. So we need to understand that. And together we craft the vision for your life. What does that look like? And it's not just your work. Work is important, granted, it's where the money comes from. And a lot of us focus on the money because we want this freedom, but it's not actually the freedom that we want. As part of it, we actually want fulfillment. And to get fulfillment, you don't just get that from your work. It's all other meaningful areas. So we factor in, what does love look like for you? What does your family look like? What does your friendships look like? What does your wealth look like? What does your health look like? So it's all these areas that we take into account, and we create vision statements so that you can either, because people are different. Some people like to read them. Some people like to have a drawing, and some people like to have a vision board. Personally, I have all of them because then it's more effective. But, we can work with each client on which one of those do they want, one or all of them. And then that is the focus point. Because if you don't have a direction, then unfortunately, you will be influenced by other people's direction. And you will waste years trying to get to your destination if you don't have some coordinates. A bit like driving.
Yes.
Okay. So it gives you the guidance to your future. And then anything that shows up that slows you down on your journey, you're then self-aware and you make a choice. Is that what I really want or not? If it is, fine, great. Add it to your journey, because it'll be the fuel to push you further. If it's something that slows you down and drains you of your fuel, then you get comfortable with saying no, which people pleasing is one of those.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because many of the people you work with are also, or probably were, coming from a corporate life, where they were an employee or they are still an employee. And sometimes these questions about what do you want, what do you stand for, why, it's not a thing that they have time or have the opportunity to consider, because it's all about following a company's vision, following some kind of policy, following some kind of targets. Everybody else is setting things for them, but they've never really thought about it themselves. And it must be quite a it might be quite a self-revealing journey to answer that for someone.
Absolutely. And everyone says the same thing, and that I've never thought about myself in this way. Every single time. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And that's because our education system doesn't teach us this. And that's okay. It is just what it is. And they are making improvements. They're seeing the benefits now. But those that are out of school and have been for a long time, these are the tools to focus on to really get yourself ahead of the game.
It's interesting as well, because if you think about people who are always achiever, and I can only say that because I'm one of them, the achiever, we are both kind of similar, but we're achieving. Sometimes what I think of are answers to the question how, not what or why. It's just how do I do this? How it's always tactics, never thinking about vision, not really, because it's just feels so good to be busy, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before we move on to your other steps, it'd be interesting because I also believe that people stay in their current state because it benefits them. So if they are gray instead of yellow, what's fun about being gray, do you think? Because it seems like being yellow, being happy is like, of course, everybody wants that. But then I'm sure you also have people that resist you or say that doesn't work, I tried, blah, blah, blah. And it almost seems like they're happy with their little gray story. Have you ever encountered that?
Oh, definitely. And that's a really good question. Why do they like to stay grey? And the first thing that's come to my mind is that it's familiar. People like things that are familiar. They don't really like change. And the only time I ever see people really change is when they've hit rock bottom, or when there's been a life change, like, having a child or a divorce. It's then that they go, oh, actually, I can see another way. But prior to that, they like the normality. We all like routine. So, for example, coronavirus, we all liked our routine: getting up in the morning, having our breakfast, going to work, having a natter, having lunch, doing work, having a natter, going home. We loved our routine. The second that got changed, everyone's like, oh no, what do I do? And then they go crazy about it. So it's, there's benefits for both sides of it, but I think it's that familiarity that they just know what they're going to get. It meets their expectations. I
Yeah.
think that's also part of it. It meets their expectations. They finish the day going, yep, I've done my day. I've done a good job. Have you? Have you moved forward? Have you progressed?
Yeah. And I think it's also that familiar and the you don't have to change. You don't have to do anything different. You don't have to be brave to be the same, right? One thing why I invited you to Brave Conversations, because what you're doing is actually quite brave. You stepped out of corporate life, you went into your own business, and you are going into a business where, yes, you're doing this to serve the corporate world and everything, but I also understand that you also eventually want to serve gray people who can't even pay for it. The people who, just for the cause. You are really going into transforming people from gray to yellow in all aspects of life. You've got a fantastic plan. What we're seeing now is probably just a sliver of that little tiny plan. And it's definitely taken you out of your comfort zone. And it's definitely something very brave, instead of just saying, okay, I'll just get another job in corporate. Not to say that corporate life is bad. Some people are doing fabulous at that, but you've decided to step into that brave yourself. What was it like for you to try to find your yellow? Because obviously you've told us about the gray part of your life. What shifted in you? What steps did you take to find your yellow, and what were the challenges you faced along the way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think to find my yellow, it was over a long period of time. So it would have been from the age of, in actual fact, it was in 2014, I remember, 2014. So leaving home and finishing university, I still had toxic behaviors within me. I was projecting my horrible ways onto my partners, the people I was dating. But I couldn't recognize that that was happening. I thought, it was just my normal. And every guy that I dated would leave me. And I was thinking, well, it's always their fault. It's always them. It wasn't me. I was perfect. They're the problem. And then when the third one left me, I thought, okay, maybe I am. Maybe there's something about me. And I listed out, well, what was it they were saying to me? And I got my list together and I thought, okay, right, so these are the areas I need to focus on. I was just aware of what needed changing. And I started with fitness. Fitness was my first area. And I think quite a lot of people go to fitness first. Again, it comes from a very negative place. It's, I'm not good enough for these boyfriends. Therefore, I must make myself look better and then I'll be a better person. So I tried it. I was like, yeah, I feel good. I've got this great body. My skin looks healthy. I've got all this energy. But I was still a little bit negative with my weight. So it continued to show up. So I realized my one fix actually wasn't the one fix. There was many other areas. But it was a great starting point to get that energy, to have something to focus on, and to prove to myself I can achieve. I can go from sitting on the sofa all day, eating McDonald's, to being fit and healthy and caring about myself. So I was doing acts of self-care. And then I wanted to push myself into my career and go up the ladder. I've always had that success mentality. And I think a lot of it was I failed a lot. So you say about me being brave. I feel the fear and I do it anyway. I read the book and I was like, okay, I understand this now. And I need to just show up for myself more because I don't want a mediocre life. It's not what I want. I wasn't really aware of my why, but deep down I knew there was this is the life that's not for me. I deserve greater things. And so this feel the fear and do it anyway mantra helped me get through all the challenging times. So I started this tech company and I had to do a lot of cold calling. I absolutely hated it. It just wasn't me, but I learned a lot. I failed a lot, I learned a lot, and I just kept evolving like that. And I really, by putting myself out there and not limiting myself, allowed me to open up doors that I didn't think was possible. So I worked for a large tech company, and I remember going to the interview saying, well, why the hell am I doing this? I'm not going to get the job. Everyone else has got 10 years more experience than me. I'm too young for this. And I thought, nope, feel the fear and you're going to do it anyway and get out there. And I thought I'd done okay. I wasn't overly pleased with my performance or what I thought. Again, I was just, I was feeling quite like not good enough, but I got the job. Mm. And then when I got into the job, I felt like I had to prove my worth because everyone else was a lot older. So I did a lot of pushing myself, not to the point that it was super stressful, but enough that I can fail and learn and consistently do that. And then I found that there was many different aspects to this yellow. It wasn't just your health. It was also my friendships. It was also spending time with my family. It was also being able to afford the things that gave me a comfortable or a nice lifestyle. So not just having a beautiful home, but having the finances to have high quality food and having the time to have that. And living on my terms. So I had elements of freedom. I didn't have to go into an office. I had the autonomy to work on my own at whatever time I wanted, but I knew my outcome. I was achieving my outcome. So there's a variety of aspects. And what I was striving for was fulfillment, that happy feeling. When I wake up in the morning, I'm inspired, I'm joyful. I walk out the door, I've got a bounce in my step. And through all my actions, it comes from my heart. And that's the yellow that I started to see when I had every little part of my life come together into one.
So that's happiness and fulfillment. Do you see a difference between happiness and fulfillment? How would you describe that? When is someone just happy and when are they fulfilled?
I think happiness is a byproduct of fulfillment. Fulfillment is like the pinnacle. And Maslow hierarchy of needs say that self-actualization is the pinnacle. So you see, there's a lot of successful people out there, celebrities. There's a lot of them. They have great talents, and they've got all the money. They've got a great lifestyle. They've got the friends, but they're not fulfilled. And we've seen a lot of them take their own lives because they've missed the trick there. It's the fulfillment of life, the beauty of life. It comes in hand, success and fulfillment, enjoying life, being grateful, forgiving people, improvements every single day. That's the bit where you get fulfilled, and happiness is a byproduct of that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? When people are so overachieving and overworked, it's sometimes interesting that they do that. I remember I did that to please others and to be recognized by others. But it's almost like what we were all missing at that point, what I was missing at that point was self-love. And it was almost like love comes from other people, not from myself, which was the mindset I had before. And now it's like my daily journal, my setting my intentions of the day. Always one of the three intentions, it's always either 1, 2, or 3 is self-love, something to do with self-kindness, self-love. It's almost like that is the only thing I can really control, right? But it's shifting from trying to please others, be recognized by others, and then coming in and feeling that now, you know what, I need to recognize myself, and only then will others recognize me really authentically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It comes from within, not outwardly.
Yeah. So what's your vision? What are you trying to impact, or what's your vision for Go to Yellow?
Yeah, my vision is simple. It's to see more yellow people. So yellow people, they wake up inspired. Like children, when they wake up in the morning, they're always, can we play now? It's big eyes. They're excited. They love life. But we lose that as we adult. So I want to get more of the child waking up in the morning into more adults. When they wake up inspired and they love what they do, everything seems to be right in all areas of life. They also walk with a bounce in their step, and they have joy in their hearts. They have like healthy skin. You can see that someone's yellow. They're stood upright. They're healthy looking. And they usually, even if they're not physically like smiling like this, you can see it in their eyes. You can tell. And the opposite, grey, they're just hunched over. They're tired, usually wrinkly. Even their skin looks grey. And they just hate Monday mornings. And also, grey people celebrate Fridays. If you celebrate Friday and if you hate Monday morning, you're grey. There's more to life than wishing away the days and finding the beauty that we have. Simple things like we're in a lockdown. I love the fact that in this lockdown, people are going to see the beauty of life. Simple, going for a walk, getting fresh air for that 1 hour is going to change people's opinions on going for a walk. Simple, but so effective.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the COVID-19, right? Because everybody's kind of locked down, some countries more than others. How do you see it? And I mean, the reality is people have lost their business. People are still trying to make up for the loss. And some people have lost their families or friends. How do we stay yellow in this kind of time? Is it all right to be gray for a while until we get through this? Or how do you deal with this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's times for when grey is beneficial. We can't just all completely be positive. If you lost a loved one, grieve. It's important to do that. Absolutely. And in good time, you'll know when to go yellow. You will know. This is quite a difficult one because it depends who's listening. If you're someone that's just lost your business, my answer will be different to someone that's still trying to push through. I can only see it right now through my own eyes because I am pushing through. I have a business, it's at risk like everyone else is. And I am being very optimistic, but also realistic, because I can sometimes be on the extreme of too optimistic, and that causes problems. You kind of need to bring it back to, well, what's logical, and I practice my own tools on myself every single day to make sure that I'm continuing at yellow. But what I think that there's many beauty in what we're going through. As much as it's really sad to lose a business, it's really sad to see our economy crash, and it's really sad to lose a chunk of money. but these are just things. You know, we are very quick to have this instant gratification. We want things right now. We want the nice clothes. We want the nice car. We want the nice house. But if you were to ask someone that's lost everything, they would all be appreciative of what they do have. And we are in a situation where we're forced to see what we do have, and they are simple. They are really simple things. And people are going to start to connect with the simple things again. And I love the fact that we're in this situation. And I do hope that people come out of it going, this is what I've taken away. These are my gifts. And not worrying about the things that they will get back. Money is just money. It comes and goes. A house is a house. You can get another one, you know. But when it comes to things like connecting with your family, like seeing my nieces and nephew grow up, it's so important to me because they grow up so fast. I make sure I have time for them always to see them grow. If they've got a performance in school, I am there. I'll happily drop some work if it meant losing a very big client, so be it, because it's more important to me to be with my family and watching them grow. Those, they may seem small, but they are super important to life. And by not being able to see our friends and family through this time, not being able to just go to a coffee shop and be there with people, you know, we realize the importance that has on our life. And going for like the walks, going for the runs, having fresh air, you know. Now we're not driving as much. There's fresh air, it's great. That you see in people's skin. You know, these are the simple things, and we're forced into it, but it's going to be positive for us in the long run, because the long run is better than short. This is the instant gratification. That's short, but the long run, there's more to life.
Yeah, I was also thinking about what is the gift that's coming from this, and many of it, I think, was not just about doing things virtually online, all the apps and technology, but I think definitely there's a certain sense that we need to learn to be grateful these days. I think we need to learn to be grateful for the simple things. We are so much living in what I call the culture of more. We need more, higher career, more money, more. And then now that we're forced into it, we can actually be very happy living a simple life. You don't need to eat like 5-star Michelin stars every day. You know, the clothes on your back is good enough. And there's really no need to go shopping for the latest and the greatest. And even I was speaking to a father of 3 children, and he said, you know, if I do run out of money because of this, my kids will not go to the same school. They won't like it, but nobody's going to die. You know,
Exactly.
at the end of it, you know, they won't like it. We'll have to get by and everything. But at the end of it, it's all really quite manageable, right? Yeah. So I think that's brilliant. Look, I love talking to you. We can talk all day long. But, you know, I want to wrap up this episode by asking you 3 questions that I just have a lot of fun asking, because I learn a lot. I just learn. I do it all for selfish reasons. I want to say.
All right, I'm honest.
So, first question. What do you think is the purpose of your life?
The purpose of my life is to make an impact, to help people see possibilities and then go after it.
Interesting. And if there's anything you can change about your life, what would it be?
This one's really hard. Really hard. The reason why it's hard is because I ask myself that all the time, and then I change it. And then I'm like, right, well, if I'm not doing this, I'll do that. So I think I'm in a good place right now. I am in a very good place. It'd be a good question to ask me probably at the end of the COVID-19. See where I'm at then. But right now, I think I've got it together.
That's good. And you wouldn't even change your childhood. You wouldn't even change any of that, because it's made you the resilient
My story
that you are. Yeah. And what would you like to be remembered for?
I would like to be remembered for my values, thoughtfully giving. For whatever success that I have, I pay it forward. I love seeing people come together and I like to give them things that helps them move forward, whether that's advice, whether that's an item, or whether that's a possibility. So I like to always pay it forward. So thoughtfully giving would be what I'd like to be remembered for.
Excellent. And I've seen you in action, and definitely that's what you are doing and you've been doing. So I know that will bring the success. And I think you've got a very solid definition of success, that it's a journey. Yeah, that we celebrate the small wins, and the happiness and fulfillment part comes along with it. And you're always doing it for to help other people, which is what's lovely about your whole process. So thank you so much for being with us today. And stay brave and keep empowering people to be brave as well. And I hope I wish you all the best in all your endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.